Chapter 1157. What's going on? The celestial secret instrument is still working, but it can't sense Lu Ming's celestial secret instrument projection. What kind of treasure does this guy have to block the projection of the heavenly fate apparatus? Ordinary treasures with internal dimensions can't block the projection at all. Does Lu Ming have something more advanced than the celestial secret instrument? Some people guessed, and the greed in their eyes burned even hotter. If they killed Lu Ming, not only would they be rewarded with a priceless tribulation transcendence heavenly treasure from the royal family, but they would also be able to obtain the treasures on Lu Ming's body. This made everyone's hearts burn with excitement. There's a reaction. The formation plate is reacting. Suddenly, someone shouted. There's really a reaction. The projection of the celestial secret instrument has reappeared. Lu Ming has appeared. He's still in this area. He's tens of thousands of miles to the south. Let's go. Sensing the reaction of the formation plates in their hands, they rushed to the south. But after a few breaths, they all stopped. What's going on? The formation plate's reaction has disappeared again. What's going on? Damn it. At this moment, their formation plates had lost connection with the projection of the celestial secret instrument. Whatever, he's in the south anyway. Many powerhouses flew in the direction that they had sensed earlier. Very soon, many people appeared near the lake where Lu Ming had been sent underground. They began to search for him. So many people have come. The Imperial Xie family, the Sky Martial Sword Sect, the Coldblood Hall, the Ji family. In the crowd, a dark-skinned man looked around with a hint of coldness in his eyes. This man was Lu Ming in disguise. Earlier, he had disguised himself and rushed out of the ground. Soon after, he found a large number of experts coming. He took the opportunity to blend in with them and inquire about some information. Lu Ming had changed his aura with his illusion breath, so these people could not recognize him at all. Thus, Lu Ming successfully obtained a lot of important information. The Imperial Xie family is really generous. They even gave out a heavenly treasure. But then again, the chaotic Sky Emperor has reappeared. The Imperial Xie family is probably starting to panic. Lu Ming thought to himself. Senior, since there are so many tonics here, why don't we find a chance to kill some of them? Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Ciel Wan. Haha, that's exactly what I want. Let's leave this place and find someone who's alone. Ciel Wan laughed and his voice sounded in Lu Ming's ears. The experts here searched the surroundings. After failing to find Lu Ming, they dispersed in all directions. Lu Ming swept his gaze and followed behind a few powerful figures from the Tianwu sword sect. Among the 3 experts, 2 were LV7 Spirit God Realm and 1 were on the 6th level. After flying a distance away, the 3 of them stopped and turned to look at Lu Ming. Brother, why have you been following the 3 of us? What do you want? One of the experts at the 7th level of the Spirit God Realm asked with a slightly cold gaze. They had long sensed that Lu Ming was following them. However, the aura that Lu Ming revealed was only at the 3rd level of the Spirit God Realm. They did not care about it at all. However, after being followed for such a long distance, they revealed a murderous intent in their hearts. Haven't you been looking for me? Lu Ming smiled faintly and his voice became younger. The 3 of them were stunned for a moment before their eyes lit up. You're Lu Ming. One of them shouted coldly. Clang, clang, clang. 3 sword chimes sounded and 3 sword lights soared into the sky. Kill. Lu Ming did not bother to talk nonsense with them and charged over. At the same time, Ciel Wan appeared and pounced on them. Ciel Wan's strength had recovered a little after absorbing 2 LV7 Spirit God Realm experts. It was easier for him to deal with LV7 Spirit God Realm experts. 4 sealing gates appeared, locking down the 3 experts of the Celestial Martial Sword faction. Lu Ming killed one of them with a palm strike. The other 2 were killed by Ciel Wan before they were enveloped by demonic chi. 3 storage rings flew toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming grabbed them and put them away. After a few breaths, the 3 Sky Martial Sword sect experts disappeared without a trace. The demonic chi on Ciel Wan's body grew stronger and rolled continuously. Ciel Wan's muscles were wriggling and filled with demonic radiance. He was like a supreme demon god, exuding a terrifying aura. It feels good. My immortal demon body has recovered a little, but it's still far from it. Let's continue. Demonic light flashed in Cielwon's eyes as if an unparalleled demon god was about to awaken. All right. Lu Ming nodded without hesitation. Now that he and Cielwon were on the same boat, the stronger Cielwon was, the better it was for him. Thereafter, Lu Ming left the place and targeted 2 experts from Coldblood Hall. They were also LV7 Spirit God Realm experts, but they were easily killed by Lu Ming. The hunt continued. Lu Ming disguised himself so that no one could see through him. Lu Ming specifically targeted those experts who were alone or in groups of 2 or 3. They were all easily killed by Cielwon and became his nourishment. Many experts had come to this territory. They came from various overlord forces and even some second-tier forces. Of course, not all forces came. For example, the Imperial Xie family's greatest enemy, the heaven-guarding Divine Army, did not send anyone. Also, the Floating Mountain Sect and the World Academy did not send anyone either. Apart from a few overlord forces who did not send anyone over, Lu Ming discovered people from 10 overlord forces. Lu Ming did not show any mercy. He took Cielwon and killed them one by one. Slowly, Cielwon's strength grew stronger. He could kill a LV7 Spirit God Realm expert in the beginning, then easily kill an LV8 Spirit God Realm expert, then LV9 Spirit God Realm expert. 3 hours later, the effect of the seal was over. Lu Ming found a secluded place and asked Cielwon to seal it again. Whoosh whoosh, Cielwon's demonic chi surged. After absorbing a LV9 Spirit God Realm expert, his demonic chi reached a terrifying level. His demonic body, in particular, was like a demonic weapon that emitted a terrifying aura. Immortal demon body. An Emperor Realm expert was completely different from a Spirit God Realm expert. An Emperor Realm expert's intent transformed into a domain, and their bloodline condensed into a spirit body. Both were terrifyingly powerful. A spirit body had already surpassed the mortal body and possessed the might to destroy the world. Even if an Emperor Realm expert did not rely on a domain, he could easily kill anyone below the Emperor Realm with just his spirit body. Cielwon's immortal demon body was a type of spirit body. It was a tyrannical and extremely powerful spirit body. Cielwon's spirit body had almost collapsed because he was suppressed by the hell-suppressing Steely's fragment for 30,000 years. Now, he was slowly condensing it back. Lu Ming, how about we do something big? Cielwon's eyes were filled with dense demonic chi. Do something big? How? Lu Ming was very tempted. Previously, they had killed many experts. Although the flesh, true essence, and blood essence of those experts had all become Cielwon's nourishment and Lu Ming did not obtain a trace of it, Cielwon did not want those storage rings and gave them to Lu Ming. Lu Ming was rich now, so he was naturally tempted. Kill a group of people with a formation. Chapter 1158. Not only was Cielwon's martial arts cultivation extremely strong, but he was also invincible among the emperors of the divine wilderness continent. His path of inscription was not weak either. He had reached the peak of the 8th level, which was the perfect stage of the spirit god realm. Now, he wanted to find a place to set up a peerless formation and kill a group of powerhouses at once. Especially those at the perfect stage of the spirit god realm. Of course, Lu Ming agreed to it wholeheartedly. The two of them chose a secluded canyon. This canyon had a wide and majestic view. Lu Ming came here, and Cielwon began to inscribe the formation. At first, it was an illusion formation that was used to hide their figures and other formations at the same time. After the illusion formation was the killing formation. Cielwon kept waving his hands, and lines of inscriptions entered the ground around the canyon. No, your formation isn't powerful enough. It's not that easy to kill a perfect stage spirit god realm powerhouse. On his shoulder, Dandan stood with both legs and looked at Cielwon inscribing the formation as if he was giving advice. Cielwon was a little curious. He looked at Dandan, pondered for a moment, and said, "My formation should have no problem killing less than 3 perfect stage spirit gods, bullshit." Dandan put his hands on his hips and scolded directly. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This guy was probably looking for a beating by scolding Ciel like this. Ciel raised his eyebrows, and a powerful aura spread out. However, in the next moment, his aura was restrained. Dandan was also shocked at first. He grabbed Lu Ming with his claws. When Cielwan's aura was restrained, Dandan secretly let out a long breath. Let me tell you, although your formation can kill less than 3 perfect stage spirit gods, it will definitely take some time. If you don't succeed in a short time and attract supreme stage powerhouses, then we can only run. Dandan continued to put on a smug look. Cielwan frowned. Dandan was right. His formation could indeed kill less than 3 perfect stage spirit gods, but it would indeed take some time. Kid, you're still too inexperienced when it comes to spell formations in front of me. Let me teach you. Dandan rushed out arrogantly and began to wave above the formation that Cielwan had inscribed. Lines of inscriptions appeared, but they didn't merge with Cielwan's inscriptions. They just marked there. Inscribe your own inscriptions according to the inscriptions I inscribed. This way, the power of your formation will be doubled. Dandan mumbled to himself as he continued to carve. Cielwan read carefully, and when he reached the end, a look of surprise appeared on his face. He realized that the inscriptions that Dandan had pointed out and carved were very magical. If they were added to his formation, it would indeed increase the power of his formation by a large margin. It would be more than enough to double its power. Lu Ming, this little turtle of yours is no small matter. It has an unusual background. Cielwan looked at Lu Ming, and the surprise in his eyes was even stronger. After a short period of time together, he realized that he couldn't see through Lu Ming anymore. He had a big secret. Although his cultivation was still weak, his future was boundless and unpredictable. What little turtle? Kid, its background is very unusual. You're right. I'm one of the top 10 battle beast. Dandan's ears were very sharp. It heard him from afar and became even more complacent. It spoke to Cielwan in a tone of lecturing a junior. What? Top 10 battle beasts? You're one of the top 10 battle beasts. Cielwan's pupils suddenly widened, revealing an extremely shocked expression. Senior, don't listen to his nonsense. This guy just likes to brag. Lu Ming hurriedly said, and then pretended not to care and asked, Senior, you know the top 10 battle beasts? What are the top 10 battle beasts? I'm not very sure. It's just that when I left the divine wilderness continent and went overseas, I heard about it once. It said that the top 10 battle beasts are the 10 most powerful creatures in this world. Each of them has the power to destroy heaven and earth. Emperors are like ants in front of them. They can even easily kill saints. They're extremely terrifying. There are even legends that some of the top 10 battle beasts don't come from our world, but from another world. It's said that your 9 dragons bloodline is one of the top 10 battle beasts, the 9 dragons. They can easily kill saints. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. There were also some that came from another world. Lu Ming thought of the heaven realm. Because Dandan was spat out from the divine gate, Lu Ming speculated that the other side of the divine gate was the heaven realm. Alright, I've added the inscriptions that need to be added. Kid, inscribe according to the trajectory that I've carved. The power of the formation will definitely increase by a lot. Dandan flew back and landed on Lu Ming's body again. Cielwan sized up Dandan seriously. Without saying anything, he flew out and began inscribing according to the trajectory that Dandan had carved. Dandan, don't mention that you're one of the top 10 battle beasts in front of others in the future. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Dandan, reminding Dandan. In the divine wilderness continent, it seemed that no one knew much about the top 10 battle beasts. Even the chaotic sky divine Emperor Cielwan had only heard of them overseas. Fortunately, Dandan was hooting all day long, so no one cared too much. If Lu Ming's cultivation was strong in the future and he broke through to the martial emperor realm and went overseas, Dandan's hooting would probably be targeted by others. According to Cielwan, the top 10 battle beasts were existences that could easily kill saints. They were supreme treasures in themselves. If others knew about it, how could they not be tempted and coveted? Alright, I'll speak less. Dandan was very smart. It had obviously thought of this point and it muttered. Ciel spent a whole day inscribing the formation. During this time, Dandan would point out any inadequacies. Ciel did as he was told. After a day, the formation was completed. Then, it was time to attract people. However, first, they had to check if there were any martial saints. If they attracted martial saints, they would be in danger, let alone kill others. Lu Ming disguised himself and wandered around the area. He checked and asked if there were any martial saints. After confirming that there were no martial saints, Lu Ming returned to the place where he had set up the formation and waited quietly. Soon, the energy of the sealed door was exhausted and the projection of the divine secret instrument appeared again. At this moment, everyone who had a formation plate within 1,000,000 miles reacted at the same time. Light spots appeared on the formation plates again. It's Lu Ming. Lu Ming has appeared. Damn it, he has been appearing and disappearing from time to time. Now he's doing this again. Is he playing with us? If I catch him, I'll skin him alive. Those powerhouses really couldn't hold back their anger, cursing and swearing. However, they still rushed toward the direction shown by the formation plates. Hey, this time, Lu Ming did not disappear. The formation plates are still showing. If that's the case, he would have disappeared in a short while before, but he hasn't disappeared yet. I guess Lu Ming used some method to conceal the aura of the divine secret instrument's projection. He can't hide it anymore. Chapter 1159. Lu Ming sat cross-legged in the air above the canyon. Above his head, the divine secret instrument's projection rotated slowly, emitting a mysterious wave. Ciel floated beside Lu Ming. It's about time. All of a sudden, Ciel shouted. He constantly condensed seals with both hands and 4 doors of seals appeared, sealing the projection of the heavenly secret instrument. He then dashed into the canyon and dug a huge hole with his spear. Lu Ming dashed tens of miles underground and spread his spiritual senses. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Figures appeared one after another and floated around the canyon, emitting powerful auras. The weakest was a LV6 spirit god, while the strongest had earth-shattering auras. They were all perfected spirit god experts. They were all dressed differently. Some wore white swordsman robes and were mostly experts from the Sky Martial Sword sect. Some wore red robes and were experts from the Coldblood Hall. Lu Ming scanned with his spiritual senses and found that most of the experts were from the Sky Martial Sword sect, the Coldblood Hall, and the Imperial Xie family. What's going on? Why did the divine secret instrument's projection disappear again? Is the divine secret instrument's projection useful or not? Damn it, the formation disk showed that it was nearby. Why did it suddenly disappear again? Lu Ming must be in the vicinity. He must be hiding somewhere. Let's surround this area. Let's see how long he can hide. The experts spoke one after another. Their figures flickered as they surrounded the area. There are so many experts. How much wealth do they have in their storage rings? Lu Ming's eyes shone with a blazing light. Ciel also spread out his spiritual senses and sensed carefully. 4 perfected spirit gods, 9 LV9 spirit gods, and no supremes. That's enough. With these supplements, I'm confident that I can fight against a supremes. Ciel whispered and revealed a cold look. Lu Ming, I'm going to release a bit of the seal now, Ciel said. Lu Ming nodded. Then, Ciel formed a seal and released a bit of the door of seals. Buzz. Immediately, the heavenly secrets instrument's projection began to ripple. At this moment, near the Great Canyon, the formation discs in the hands of the experts moved, all of them pointing in the same direction, towards the Great Canyon. He appeared. Lu Ming has appeared. He's in that canyon. He should be hiding underground in the canyon, using a secret technique to hide the fluctuations of the divination apparatus's projection. Now, he can't hide it any longer and is about to reveal himself. Kill. Lu Ming is mine. It's mine. One by one, the experts roared and unleashed their powerful auras. Their eyes were red as they charged towards the canyon. If he killed Lu Ming, he would be able to obtain a tribulation-transcending heavenly treasure. This temptation was too great. At least a few dozen experts at the 6th level of the spirit god realm and above charged into the canyon. At the same time, a series of attacks exploded towards the ground, wanting to force Lu Ming out of the ground. All of you, die. Ciel Wan's eyes were cold as he waved his hands. In the canyon, countless inscriptions flickered and a peerless killing formation appeared. Soaring murderous intent filled the air. Terrifying sword chi appeared, destroying the attacks of these experts. The terrifying aura of the grand formation caused everyone to feel a chill in their hearts. Even their souls were trembling. Oh no, it's a peerless killing formation. We've been tricked. Retreat, retreat, retreat. These experts had gone mad and were fleeing madly towards the outside. However, it was too late. Whoosh, whoosh. The terrifying sword chi was moving at a speed that was beyond what the naked eye could see. Shrill cries resounded out densely as those experts at the 9th level of the spirit god realm and below were instantly annihilated, causing their blood and chi to shoot into the sky. Even if it was 9 9th level spirit god realm experts, they were unable to resist for a few breaths of time before being annihilated one by one. In the end, only 4 experts of the perfect spirit god realm were left. Let's join forces and charge out. We've been tricked. Lu Ming has the help of experts. We've been tricked. We've been tricked by the imperial family. The 4 experts of the perfect spirit god realm wanted to join forces and charge out. However, this formation had been improved by Dandan and was extremely powerful. The 4 experts of the perfect spirit god realm tried their best to charge out, but they realized in despair that they couldn't charge out at all. The 4 of them didn't persist for long before their defenses were broken by the pitilessly sharp sword chi. Thousands of swords pierced their hearts and they died on the spot. Dozens of experts above the 6th level of the spirit god realm were annihilated. It was a great loss for a power with a perfect spirit god realm expert dying. A perfect spirit god realm expert was an existence second only to an exalted being. No power would have too many of them, so the death of one was a great loss. Bang! Lu Ming charged towards the ground and reached the ground in an instant. As soon as he reached the ground, Ciel Wan turned into a ball of demonic chi and enveloped the expert's corpse. Senior, leave a few for me, Lu Ming shouted. He was envious when he saw so many spirit god realm experts, especially those who cultivated the earth concept. Lu Ming dashed toward the few experts who had cultivated the earth concept. Ciel Wan intended to let Lu Ming obtain some benefits. He didn't touch the few people that Lu Ming took a fancy to. The others were all enveloped by demonic chi and became Ciel Wan's nourishment. Lu Ming controlled the 9 dragons bloodline and charged towards an expert at the 8th level of the spirit god realm. He opened his mouth and sucked. Devouring power erupted and devoured the expert's true essence, blood essence, and concept runes. After that, Lu Ming charged towards another expert and continued to devour. Lu Ming had devoured 3 experts from the 8th level of the spirit god realm. They were all experts who cultivated the earth concept. After devouring 3 experts, the 9 dragons bloodline swelled and was filled with boundless and terrifying energy. Ciel Wan didn't take the storage rings of those experts. They all flew towards Lu Ming and were put away by Lu Ming. Lu Ming's heart burned with passion. So many experts, how much wealth do they have? Lu Ming, let's go. Let's leave this place first. Demonic chi surged around Ciel Wan as he wrapped Lu Ming and flew towards the distance. He believed that the commotion here would soon be known by others, and would definitely attract powerful experts. Ciel Wan took Lu Ming and flew 1,000 miles in an instant. Soon, they flew several million miles. Lu Ming charged into the belly of a huge mountain and entered the mountain river diagram. Lu Ming sat cross-legged and started to refine the energy he had just devoured. The energy of 3 8th level spirit god realm experts was too vast and boundless. It was constantly converted into true essence. Lu Ming's cultivation started to rise rapidly. Mid-3rd level spirit god realm, late 3rd level spirit god realm, concept runes were also constantly refined. Before long, Lu Ming's earth concept smoothly broke through the bottleneck and charged into the 4th level of the initial stage. It was even slowly rising. Moreover, some of them had comprehended the concept of fire. This allowed Lu Ming's concept of fire to rise a little. As for the blood essence of the 3 experts, Lu Ming used it all to upgrade the prison-suppressing steely bloodline. Before long, the 8th golden chakra appeared on the prison-suppressing steely bloodline. At first, it was still a little dim, but it slowly became resplendent. After a few hours, Lu Ming finally finished refining the blood essence of the 3 8th level spirit god realm experts. A powerful aura rippled out from Lu Ming's body. It was several times stronger than before. Chapter 1160. With the breakthrough of the Earth concept, Lu Ming's 5 concepts had reached the 4th level. Therefore, he relied on the huge amount of energy he devoured to break through and enter the 4th level of the spirit god realm. Lu Ming's strength had increased by a large margin. Lu Ming put away the 9 dragons bloodline and opened his eyes. He saw Xielwan not far away, looking at him in surprise. The 9 dragons bloodline is indeed magical and heaven-defying, Xielwan sighed. The reason why he could constantly improve his strength with the nourishment of experts was that he had already reached his original realm. However, he had been suppressed for many years and was relatively weak. He needed the blood essence of experts to recover. He was only recovering, but Lu Ming was improving and breaking through. There was no comparison at all. Senior, how much strength have you recovered? Lu Ming changed the topic and asked. With my current strength, it shouldn't be a problem for me to fight against a supreme being, Xielwan said. You can fight against a supreme being? Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. The stronger Xielwan was now, the better it would be for him. Senior, do you still want to do something big? Lu Ming's eyes lit up and he was a little restless. Didn't the experts of the Overlord forces want to kill him? Then, he would kill them back. The key was that Xielwan didn't seem to care about their storage rings, but Lu Ming needed them. Although Lu Ming hadn't checked the contents of those storage rings, they were all experts at the 6th level of the spirit god realm and above. The value of the items inside would definitely be shocking. Lu Ming's heart was burning. Haha, your thoughts coincide with mine. I happen to want to do something big too. Xielwan laughed loudly, arrogant and overbearing. Senior, I'm afraid it will be difficult to kill the enemy with the formation a second time. The others will definitely be on guard after seeing the traces of the previous battle. It will be difficult to do it again. Lu Ming frowned and thought about how to do something big. It's fine. Let's change the method. Isn't there a Sky Martial Sword Sect's branch nearby? Let's destroy this branch directly. Moreover, I can sense something I need in this branch. Xielwan spoke with a trace of hope in his eyes. Attacking the Sky Martial Sword Faction's division? Senior, I'm afraid there's a supreme being in charge of this division. Lu Ming said with a serious expression. Although Xielwan had the strength to fight against a martial saint, the martial saint of the Sky Martial Sword Sect was in charge of the sect and had the geographical advantage. It was not easy to kill him. If things went wrong, he might even lose his life. If my strength is a little stronger, then I'm confident. There's something very important to me in that division. If I can get it, my strength will definitely recover quickly. At that time, I won't have to hide anymore. Xielwan frowned. Lu Ming pondered for a moment. Suddenly, his palm glowed and a small pagoda appeared in his hand. Sovereign spirit weapon. When he saw this small pagoda, Xielwan's eyes were filled with brilliant light. Senior, if I lend you this sovereign spirit weapon for the time being, are you confident? Lu Ming asked. Yes. Although this Emperor tier spirit weapon doesn't match my attribute and I can't fully display its power, it's still an Emperor tier spirit weapon after all. It's enough to increase my strength by a large amount. It's enough to attack that branch, Xielwan said. Alright, I'll lend it to you. Lu Ming waved his hand and the small pagoda flew to Xielwan. If he didn't make a decision, he would suffer instead. Now that Xielwan was temporarily attached to him, he wouldn't be able to hide many of his secrets from Xielwan. Therefore, he might as well reveal them openly and use Xielwan's strength to gain benefits for himself. Ha ha ha, great. Then let's turn the world upside down. Xielwan laughed and refined the small pagoda. He then left the mountain river diagram with Lu Ming and flew towards the north. Hundreds of thousands of miles away in the north, there was a Sky Martial Sword Faction's division in a desolate mountain. Wan sensed it when Lu Ming and the others passed by earlier. Soon, a sword peak appeared in front of them. The peak was like a sword that could reach the sky. Even from afar, they could feel a powerful sword aura emanating from it. There seemed to be a demonic light shining in Wan's eyes as if he could see through everything. The Sky Martial Sword faction's division isn't simple. They seem to be secretly researching something related to demons, Wan muttered. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The Sky Martial Sword faction was actually researching something related to demons. Therefore, Wan chose this place. Whoosh! Wan took Lu Ming and took a step forward, appearing above the Tongtian sword peak. Who is it? This place is assigned by the Celestial Martial Sword faction. All of you, scram. As soon as they appeared, the experts on the Heavenspan sword sensed their presence, and they let out a shout filled with killing intent. I'm the one who will kill you, Wan said coldly. A small red pagoda appeared in his hand and expanded rapidly. In the end, it turned into a giant pagoda that was comparable to the sword peak. There was a blazing aura emanating from it and a layer of light shrouded it. It was red in color and emitted a shocking temperature. Is this a domain? Lu Ming's eyes were filled with shock. An emperor's intent evolved into a domain. An emperor's spiritual weapon also contained a domain. It was extremely terrifying. Flame domain. Not good. It's an emperor. An emperor is attacking. Activate the formation. Activate the formation. The moment the emperor's spiritual weapon appeared, chaos broke out on the sword peak. Terrified screams could be heard. Suppress. Wan waved his hand and rich true yuan poured into the small red pagoda. The small red pagoda then suppressed the sword peak. At that moment, countless inscriptions appeared around the sword peak and formed a large formation. A towering sword chi rushed towards the small red pagoda. Boom! There was an earth-shattering explosion as the sword chi was destroyed. The giant pagoda suppressed everything and smashed onto the protective formation of the Sky Martial Sword Peak. The protective mountain formation shook violently, almost collapsing. Suppress! Wan shouted and continued to control the giant pagoda to suppress it. This time, there was an earth-shattering explosion as the protective formation of the Sky Martial Sword Peak was breached. The protective formation shattered and the giant pagoda slammed onto the mountain peak. The entire sword peak shook violently before it exploded. At this moment, the sword peak was filled with tragic cries. Countless disciples of the Celestial Martial Sword sect were screaming as they were turned into ashes under the horrifying power. Even some high-level spiritual God realm experts vomited mouthfuls of blood and were on the verge of death. Who are you? My Sky Martial Sword sect will kill you. A furious roar sounded as a dazzling sword light shot up from the bottom of the sword peak. It was as if it wanted to split heaven and earth in half. Supreme Being, this was a Supreme Being. The person who will kill you. Demonic chi surged around Wan's body. He was like a peerless demon god controlling an emperor's spiritual weapon to suppress the other party. At the same time, Wan took a big step forward. His muscles bulged and a demonic light appeared. It seemed to contain boundless power. Boom. Chapter 1161. The Sky Martial Sword sect's paragon let out a long roar. His sword might was vast and mighty, shattering the heavens. He slashed out a shocking sword light, slashing onto the huge pagoda, blocking it. However, on the other side, Wan's demonic fist arrived once again. Boundless sword chi floated around the Sky Martial Sword sect's Supreme Being. In the end, they converged into a sword. Like a myriad of swords returning to the sect, it pierced towards Wan. Boom! Wan's demonic fist slammed into the sword energy, causing the sword energy to tremble violently before finally collapsing. Although the Heavenly Martial Sword sect's Ji-Zun was strong, he had to fend off the sovereign spirit weapon and Wan. He was already at a disadvantage. Spirit body, you have a spirit body. Are you a ruler? When the opponent saw that Wan had defeated his sword energy with a single punch, he immediately cried out in fear. Kill! Wan shouted and strode forward. His demonic fists crushed everything as he punched out. Above, The giant pagoda shook and continued to press down on the other party. The supreme being of the celestial martial sword sect had a look of fear in his eyes as he activated bloodline fusion immediately, transforming into a battle sword. His bloodline was at level 6 of the deity level, comparable to the clan heads of the 6 great ancient aristocratic families of the Emperor Heaven Divine Palace. Performing the bloodline fusion had increased his battle prowess by a level, but Ciel was brave and invincible. His undying demon body was frightening and shocking. If he was at his peak, he could crush an emperor. Boom. Boom. At the same time, the giant pagoda pressed down as well. Within the giant pagoda, the flame domain enveloped the celestial martial sword sect's supreme being, causing him to be suppressed by the terrifying heat. Even though the supreme martial artist of the celestial martial sword sect gave it his all and slashed out waves after waves of shocking sword chi, it was still useless. He was suppressed and gradually lost the ability to fight back. Go quickly and inform the sect master. The Sky Martial Sword sect's supreme being roared. Some high-level domain enlightened spirit gods that hadn't died looked at the battle in the sky with terror. The Sky Martial Sword sect's exalt had actually fallen into a completely disadvantaged position, and he might be defeated at any moment. Go. Someone flew into the distance, wanting to escape and inform the sovereign of the Sky Martial Sword sect. None of you shall leave. Cielwan's devilish chi shot into the sky as his fist blasted out, and it pierced through 5,000 kilometers of space. A few domain-enlightened spirit gods were instantly enveloped by the glow of his fist, and they were mercilessly annihilated. Clang. Clang. Then, Cielwan's demonic fists continued to bombard the body of the opponent's sword, causing the Sky Martial Sword sect's supreme being to vibrate continuously. Originally, with Cielwan's current combat strength, he wasn't inferior to his opponent. Coupled with the assistance of a ruler spirit armament, Cielwan's strength far surpassed his opponent's. After more than 10 punches, the sword shattered, revealing the other party's body, which was retreating in horror. Boom. The giant pagoda pressed down, and the other party tried his best to resist, but he was still hit by the giant pagoda and spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Cielwan charged over and punched him in the chest. He screamed in pain as his chest was pierced through. A huge hole appeared and his heart was shattered. His opponent's Dantian lit up, and his spiritual divinity rushed out, wanting to escape. However, Cielwan reached out and grabbed his opponent's spiritual divinity. With a fierce squeeze, the opponent's spiritual divinity was crushed, turning into energy that was absorbed by Cielwan. A supreme was killed by Cielwan just like that. Boom. The gigantic pagoda shone brightly as it enveloped the entire Sky Martial Sword sect. The remaining members of the Sky Martial Sword sect were all killed without exception. Cielwan turned into demonic chi and enveloped all the experts of the Sky Martial Sword sect, turning them into his nourishment. Leave some for me. Lu Ming flew rapidly, collecting the storage rings one by one. Unfortunately, those experts had all become Cielwan's nourishment, leaving nothing for him. Lu Ming lamented. However, he had just devoured 3 8th level spirit god experts, and there were impurities in them. He needed some time to refine them and stabilize his foundation. If he continued to devour, his foundation might become even more unstable. Thinking of this, Lu Ming felt relieved and continued to collect the storage rings. Soon, all the storage rings were collected by Lu Ming. However, Cielwan did not give the Supreme's storage ring to Lu Ming. He kept it for himself. The Supreme's wealth must have tempted him. Boom. Cielwan absorbed all the tonics and turned into his human form. He punched the ground, penetrating it. Below the ground, a shocking demonic chi shot up into the sky. It was vast and mighty, and there was a terrifying pressure spreading out. Why do I feel like I'm facing the Demon Emperor? Lu Ming was shocked. Could there be a Demon Emperor hiding under the ground? How could that be possible? As expected, the Sky Martial Sword sect is so ambitious. They are actually refining a demon fetus in secret. Cielwan muttered to himself with an ecstatic smile on his face. Senior, what's a demon fetus? Lu Ming came to Cielwan's side and looked down. Demonic chi permeated the ground and a tall figure could be vaguely seen in the demonic chi. The demonic chi was coming from that figure. The Sky Martial Sword sect must have obtained the corpse of a fallen demon emperor and refined it with a special method. In the end, they managed to refine it into a powerful existence that will obey the orders of the Sky Martial Sword sect. That existence is the demon fetus. Once it's refined, it will possess strength comparable to an emperor. It seems like the Sky Martial Sword sect is far from complete. Now, it's all mine. Once I refine this demon fetus, my strength will be barely restored to the monarch realm. Ciel laughed and turned into a ball of demonic chi. He flew down and wrapped around the tall figure before starting to refine it. Lu Ming could only wait by the side. Soon, half an hour passed. Rip! High up in the sky, the space was suddenly torn apart. A middle-aged man in a white robe with a sword on his back stepped out of the tear in space. As soon as the middle-aged man stepped out of the tear in space, he looked around. Suddenly, a sword aura that seemed to be able to destroy the world erupted and enveloped the area within a radius of 10,000 miles. An emperor. It's an emperor. Lu Ming's pupils contracted in shock. He knew that the Sky Martial Sword sect's emperor had arrived. He was a sword emperor who could slay the world with his sword. The Sky Martial Sword sect's emperor's gaze fell on Lu Ming. However, it was just a glance before it landed on the ball of demonic chi on the ground. I don't care who you are. Since you dared to destroy a branch of my Sky Martial Sword sect, you can forget about leaving today. Whoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, the Sky Martial Sword sect's emperor slashed out with his palm. A dazzling sword aura slashed towards Ciel. The might of the sword aura was several times stronger than that of the previous supreme being. Haha. How dare a junior act so presumptuously in front of me? A loud laugh came from within the demonic chi. A black fist radiance flew out and clashed with the sword aura. When the fist radiance and the sword aura clashed, it stirred up a boundless energy storm. All the mountains and mountains within a radius of 10,000 miles were swept by the energy storm. They crumbled and exploded into pieces. A single move had destroyed the mountains and rivers within a radius of 10,000 miles. The battle between emperors was too terrifying. It could even destroy the world. Lu Ming was under the protection of Ciel's demonic chi. However, he was still shocked when he felt the might of the battle. The might of an emperor is indeed shocking. It's not something that I can match up to now, Lu Ming thought to himself. Whoosh. Chapter 1162. Obviously, Ciel had recovered a lot and his strength was unfathomable. Clang. A sword chime was heard as the Sky Martial Sword sect's sovereign unsheathed his sword. The sword chime made Lu Ming's body tremble. He felt his eardrums ringing and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Shameless boasting. Die. The Sky Martial Sword sect's sovereign was overbearing. He took a step forward and it was as though he had turned into a sword. Boundless sword chi flowed around his body. You're just an ordinary sword body. I've killed more than one in the past. Ciel's voice was heard. The huge pagoda shook and flew out towards the sovereign. Shoosh. The sovereign swung his sword and the entire area was split open. A terrifying sword light slashed on the huge pagoda. Its power exploded and broke the flame territory of the huge pagoda, blocking the pagoda. At the same time, a few terrifying sword chi flew towards Ciel. Sword territory. Ciel snorted and retracted his demonic chi. Ciel's true body was revealed. His body was shining with demonic light as though it contained boundless power. Boom. Boom. He threw out a few punches and clashed with the sovereign's sword chi. A loud explosion was heard and the ground was shaved 100 miles deep by the shockwaves. Bam! The sword chi was defeated, but Ciel's body also took a step back, causing the space to explode, revealing a pitch-black space. Ciel seemed to be at a disadvantage. However, the sovereign did not continue to attack. Instead, he opened his eyes wide and stared at Ciel. You're Ciel. The Sky Martial Sword sect's sovereign spat out a sentence with great difficulty. His voice was filled with disbelief. Back then, Ciel rebelled against the royal family and started a great war with the royal family. Many forces had participated in that war and had witnessed Ciel-Wan's unparalleled demonic chi. There were portraits of Ciel-Wan in many overlord forces. Many of those portraits were drawn by the sovereigns. They could even feel Ciel-Wan's demonic chi and aura in the portraits. There was such a portrait in the Sky Martial Sword sect. The sovereign of the Sky Martial Sword sect had experienced it personally, and it was exactly the same as Ciel-Wan. Therefore, he was immediately stunned, shocked, and in disbelief. Why would the supreme demonic emperor from 30,000 years ago appear now? Go! Seizing this opportunity, Ciel-Wan didn't continue fighting, and he tore open space and led Lu Ming into the spatial rift before vanishing. The Sky Martial Sword sect's sovereign was the only one left at the scene. Ciel-Wan, it's definitely Ciel-Wan. Ciel-Wan has come out. This world is going to be chaotic again. The sovereign of the Sky Martial Sword sect muttered to himself. After a while, his eyes shone brightly as he muttered to himself, that's good too. This is an opportunity. Perhaps it's an opportunity for my Sky Martial Sword sect. But it's a pity that the devil fetus will be lost. The Sky Martial Sword sect's martial emperor sighed. Then, he suddenly looked in a direction. Two resplendent sword lights shot out from his eyes as he shouted, "Who is it?" "Ha, Sword Emperor Wu Ju, how have you been?" A loud laugh rang out, and a bolt of lightning flashed in the sky. A middle-aged man wearing a cyan thunder battle robe appeared in the sky. "Lightning Saber Emperor, why are you here?" Wu Ju's Sword Emperor frowned. The Lightning Saber Emperor was the sect master of the Sky Thunder Saber sect, an overlord force. The Imperial Xie clan has announced to the world that they have activated the Tianji instrument to capture Lu Ming. However, I feel that it's not that simple. I just came out of seclusion, so I came out for a walk. I sensed a strong energy fluctuation here, so I came to take a look. The Lightning Saber Emperor explained. He then looked around and said, "Wu Jue, this should be one of the branches of your Sky Martial Sword sect, right? It seems like it has been destroyed. You were the one who fought with the other party, right? Where is he? Why? Even you can't keep him here? He's gone." Wu Ju's Sword Emperor said. "Who is it? The remaining demonic chi here is extremely shocking. Could it be the Demon Emperor from the Demon Mountain?" The Lightning Saber Emperor's eyes flickered as he probed. Wu Jue Martial Emperor pondered for a while, as if he was thinking. After a while, he said, "It's not the Demon Emperor from the Demon Mountain. You won't be able to guess who it is. Who is it?" Seeing Wu Jue Martial Emperor's solemn expression, the Lightning Saber Emperor asked curiously. "Ciel-Wan, the Demon Emperor, Ciel-Wan." Martial Monarch Wu Ju said word by word. Every word was spoken extremely clearly. What? Even with the Lightning Saber Emperor's determination, he was dumbfounded at that moment. "Wu Jue, are you hallucinating? Or are you joking with me? Ciel-Wan, 30,000 years old, how could he still be alive?" The Lightning Saber Emperor said in disbelief. "Do I look like I'm joking?" Wu Jue Martial Emperor said with a cold expression. The Lightning Saber Emperor fell silent. His eyes flickered as if he was thinking about something. After a while, he said, "If it's really Ciel-Wan, I'm afraid the royal family will be in chaos. I know why the royal family activated the heavenly fortune apparatus. Their target is not Lu Ming, but Ciel-Wan. That's most likely the case. Besides, Ciel-Wan has yet to recover to his peak. He is still no match for me." Wu Jue Martial Emperor said. "If that's the case, do you have any way to track Ciel-Wan's aura? Let's follow him and see what he's up to next." The Lightning Saber Emperor said. "Ciel-Wan used my Tianwu Sword faction's disciples as supplements to recover his demonic body. He has yet to completely eliminate the aura of my disciples. I can use a secret technique to track him down." "Alright, let's go and see what he's up to," Wu Jue Martial Emperor said and began to use a secret technique to track Ciel-Wan's aura. Ciel-Wan brought Lu Ming and crossed several spaces before coming to a stop. "I still haven't recovered to the Emperor realm. I'm still a little weaker than that kid," Ciel-Wan said. That kid was referring to Wu Jue Martial Emperor. "Senior, you're still no match for an Emperor realm expert?" Lu Ming asked. I can barely fight. An ordinary Emperor Realm expert can't do anything to me. With your Emperor Realm spiritual weapon, I can fight against an ordinary Emperor Realm expert. However, it won't be good for me if I fight for a long time. Now that my identity has been exposed, I'm afraid all the emperors in the world will try to find us. Xielwan said. Although he said so, there was still a cold smile on his face. Senior, do you have any good ideas? Seeing Xielwan's expression, Lu Ming knew that Xielwan already had an idea. Isn't the royal family going all out to hunt us down? Then I'll make the royal family lose interest in hunting us down. I'll even make the divine wilderness continent fall into chaos and attack each other. This way, I'll have time to recover. Xielwan said. Make the divine wilderness continent fall into chaos? Attack each other? Lu Ming was shocked, but he was also puzzled. What method did Xielwan have to make the world fall into chaos and attack each other? I have a Heavenly King token with me. Back then, it belonged to the royal family. Hehe, as long as I take out this Heavenly King token, it will be enough to make those emperors go crazy. Lu Ming, let's go to the sacred city. Chapter 1163. In a secret hall in the holy city, a round sphere floated in the air, emitting a resplendent light. Inscriptions appeared on the surface of this sphere, shining brightly. If Lu Ming were here, he would recognize that this sphere was identical to the projection of the Heavenly Secrets apparatus floating above his head. This was the Heavenly Secrets apparatus's main body. Above the Heavenly Secrets apparatus, there was an enormous disk array that emitted a mysterious light. Around the Heavenly Secrets apparatus, more than a dozen people stood quietly, observing. Suddenly, the Heavenly Secrets apparatus shone brightly, and a dot of light appeared on the disk array above the Heavenly Secrets apparatus. The dozen or so people present were alarmed. The Heavenly Secrets apparatus has sensed something, and a dot of light has appeared on the disk array. Lu Ming has appeared, and is within 1 million li. An old man exclaimed in disbelief. Shouldn't Lu Ming be hiding somewhere far away? How did he dare to appear within 1 million li of the holy city? Look, he's rapidly approaching the holy city. He's approaching the holy city. The others exclaimed, their voices filled with disbelief. The disk array showed that the dot of light was rapidly approaching the holy city. This meant that Lu Ming was on his way to the holy city. Quick, spread the news. The old man in the lead ordered. Then, they took out sound transmission jade talismans and sent out the news. In fact, there was no need for them to send out the news. There were people in the holy city who could sense the Heavenly Secrets force field disk array, and they had also discovered this point. Lu Ming was rapidly approaching the holy city. Many experts in the holy city were alarmed. Even more experts from the imperial Xie family were alarmed, and they flew out from various places towards the holy city's eastern wall. Because according to the disk array, Lu Ming was coming from the east, and he would soon be near the eastern wall. For a time, the holy city's eastern wall was filled with wind and clouds. Many experts had arrived, and the walls were filled with people. He's here, he's almost there. Some people looked at the disk array and found that the dot of light was getting closer and closer to the holy city. Soon, a black-robed youth with long hair casually draped over his shoulders stepped through the air. Lu Ming, it was Lu Ming. At this moment, above Lu Ming's head, the divine secret instrument's projection was suspended in the air. Previously, Xielwan had brought Lu Ming towards the holy city by tearing through space. When they were within 1,000,000 miles of the holy city, Xielwan released the seal on the sealing gate and released the projection of the Tianji instrument. Then, it sank into Lu Ming's spine and disappeared. Lu Ming, on the other hand, was flying towards the holy city. At this moment, everyone's attention was on Lu Ming. I didn't expect that Lu Ming would actually come to the sacred city. Isn't this like a lamb walking into a tiger's den? Could it be that he knows he can't escape, so he's here to surrender? It's possible. Speaking of which, it's strange. I remember that during the million-year sacrifice ceremony, Lu Ming took the initiative to enter the 9 underworlds to take Princess 16 away. I'm very curious. How did he come out? Moreover, he was hunted down by the imperial family. They even took out the divine secret instrument and gave him a heavenly treasure to pass the tribulation. Everyone is very curious about this, let alone you. However, many higher-ups in the royal family don't know the exact reason, let alone us. However, there is one thing that we can be sure of. Lu Ming definitely did something very impressive to cause the Xie family of the royal family to behave this way. Some experts from other forces were secretly discussing, but for a moment, no one made a move. Lu Ming stood in the air 100 miles away from the city wall. Lu Ming, how dare you break out of the 9 underworlds without permission? You've committed a heinous crime and should be executed by 1,000 cut. A gloomy voice sounded. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice. The speaker was Xiezhen. Lu Ming glanced at Xiezhen casually and sneered. What a joke. I entered the 9 underworlds of my own free will. I can stay or leave as I wish. Also, Xie Qitian obviously wants me to stay in the 9 underworlds for the rest of my life. How dare he make it sound so dignified? What a despicable person. How dare you slander my father? I'll kill your entire family. Today, no one can save you. Xiezhen scolded loudly with a condescending look. Oh. Well, in terms of age, you're older than me. Come and kill me. Lu Ming said. You, Xiezhen was stunned. Humph, loser, do you dare to attack me? I'll suppress you with one finger. Lu Ming said loudly with great disdain in his voice. Xiezhen's face flushed red. In terms of age, he and Lu Ming were of the same generation. In fact, he was older than Lu Ming. However, he did not dare to fight with Lu Ming. Lu Ming could suppress him with one finger. Lu Ming. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. The voice was crisp and pleasant, but it was full of faint arrogance. A stunning woman in a snow-white dress, with milky white light all over her body, stepped on the air and came. She was as holy as a fairy from the 9 heavens. Her body was blooming with holy light. Every time she took a step, a milky white lotus would appear under her feet. 9th Princess. Xian Yanjuan. Many people's eyes were attracted by this figure. Xian Yanjuan, one of the 5 great beauties of Zhengzhou State, ranked 2nd among the 5 giants of Zhengzhou State. She was a god's favored daughter with thousands of halos on her body. Lu Ming's eyes also fell on her. Her appearance was very similar to Xian Yanqing's, but her temperament was completely different from Xian Yanqing's. They were worlds apart. Lu Ming had known for a long time that Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan only had the same father, but not the same mother. It was amazing that they looked so similar. Xian Yanjuan stepped on the air and stood in front of the crowd. Looking at Lu Ming, her cold and arrogant voice sounded again. Lu Ming, it was you who took Xian Yanqing away, wasn't it? Hand her over. She is an alien of the Xie family. She has a lowly and dirty bloodline. She will stay in the Devil's Domain forever and hunt down the Moshe clan for the Xie family for the rest of her life to make up for what she owes the Xie family. Ha ha ha, ridiculous, really ridiculous. Xian Yanjuan's words made Lu Ming laugh uncontrollably. You said that Nianqing owes the Xie family? You really know how to twist the truth. In my opinion, the Xie family owes Nianqing and you will never be able to pay it back. Lu Ming laughed. Her bloodline has tarnished the reputation of the imperial Xie family. If she doesn't owe the Xie family, then what is? Xian Yanjuan frowned slightly. Bullshit. Bullshit. A bunch of self-righteous people. What is the Xie family? What is the imperial family? They are just a bunch of arrogant fools. No wonder the ancient Saint dynasty is not weak. Being controlled by a bunch of short-sighted fools, it would be strange if they didn't become weak. In my opinion, the ancient Saint dynasty should be destroyed. Lu Ming shouted loudly and his voice spread across the crowd. Especially the last sentence, the ancient Saint dynasty should be destroyed, it shocked many people. He was too bold. He was simply too audacious. Lu Ming actually dared to say such words in front of everyone. This was a blatant insult to the royal family, the Xie family, and a slap to their face. Chapter 1164. How dare you? How dare you? You're courting death. Let me kill him. Let me cripple him. I'll let him taste the most painful punishment in the world. The members of the Imperial Xie family shouted angrily, releasing cold killing intent. Boom! A shocking aura erupted from Xian Yanjuan's body. Her beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent, and a powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. She said in a cold voice, "Lu Ming, saving your life back then was the biggest mistake I've ever made. But it doesn't matter. It's the same if I kill you today. You think you can kill me? That might not be enough." Lu Ming smiled contemptuously. Xian Yanjuan's cultivation was very strong. She was at the peak of the third-level spirit god realm. Her aura was powerful, and her body contained terrifying energy. Lu Ming felt that she was even stronger than the underworld child. If Lu Ming fought her during the 1,000,000-year sacrificial ceremony, he was not confident that he could win. But now, he did not take Xian Yanjuan seriously. Lu Ming, don't think that you're the strongest in the world just because you defeated the underworld child. If I had fought back then, I would have been able to suppress you. Xian Yanjuan took another step forward. Her aura was strong, and a milky white light bloomed from her body. It made Xian Yanjuan look even more holy and noble. Is Xian Yanjuan going to fight Lu Ming? Many people were looking forward to it. During the 1,000,000-year sacrificial ceremony, Lu Ming had defeated many giant-level geniuses in a row, showing that he was invincible. In the end, when he faced Long Chen, Lu Ming directly admitted defeat. Many people felt that it was a pity that they did not see who was the strongest. And Xian Yanjuan did not participate in that battle. This made many people secretly talk about Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming, guessing who was stronger. After all, Xian Yanqing was ranked second among the 5 giants of the central continent, second only to Long Chen. It was hard to say who was stronger without fighting. Now, was it finally time for a battle? At this time, Lu Ming's eyes flickered and he waved his hand. A ray of light flashed and Xian Yanqing appeared beside Lu Ming. Just now, Xian Yanqing had sent a message to Lu Ming through Dandan, saying that he wanted to come out. Lu Ming then let Xian Yanqing come out. This is. As soon as Xian Yanqing came out, he attracted everyone's attention. Almost everyone in the holy city was looking at Xian Yanqing, and then at Xian Yanjuan. Their eyes were filled with shock because the two of them were too similar. This woman, why does she look so similar to Xian Yanjuan? Both of them are devastatingly beautiful. Who is she? I know. It is said that the current Holy King has 3 princesses, all of whom are devastatingly beautiful. Among them, Princess 16 has been hidden by the royal family because of her bloodline. This woman should be Princess 16. She should be. The 3 princesses of the current Holy King are indeed devastatingly beautiful. This Princess 16 is not inferior to the 5 beauties at all. I wonder how talented she is in martial arts. There was a burst of discussion around them. Many people had heard of Princess 16's name, but only a few had seen her in person. Naturally, they were surprised at this time. You really left the demon realm with him. Surrender now and go back to the demon realm. Stay in the demon realm for the rest of your life and kill the demon temple clan. Don't even think about walking around outside. You're a disgrace to the royal family. Xian Yanjuan looked coldly at Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing's face was cold. She looked at Xian Yanjuan and said, "Xian Yanjuan, you don't have to put on a high and mighty face. Since you were young, you have been doted on by everyone. Is it because of your holy bloodline? What a joke. Today, I will trample you under my feet and let the world see how vulnerable your so-called holy and orthodox bloodline is." As Xian Yanqing's voice was heard, endless demon qi shot up from her body. Her powerful aura was opposing Xian Yanjuan's. "Since you want to fight with me, I will grant your wish," Xian Yanjuan said coldly. A milky white holy light beam shot up to the sky from her body. At the same time, a black demon qi shot up from Xian Yanqing's body. One black and one white, the 2 light beams collided fiercely in the sky. Boom! The clouds in the sky were scattered and strong winds swept across. "Let's fight," Xian Yanqing said and flew up to the sky. Xian Yanjuan's eyes were cold. She also flew up to the sky. One black and one white, the 2 light beams collided and tore the space into pieces. Sky Demon Force Field. 9 heavens sacred domain. 2 delicate shouts sounded. The two of them used their ultimate skills and fought in the sky. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than a dozen blows. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan's attacks were very similar. However, one was of the demon Dao and the other was of the holy Dao. Black lotuses appeared around Xian Yanqing's body. They turned into lotus swords and shot out horizontally. On the other hand, milky white lotuses appeared around Xian Yanjuan's body. They also turned into rays of sword light and fought Xian Yanqing. Sword chi shot up to the sky. For a moment, the two of them were locked in a fierce battle. The spectators in the holy city gasped. They were extremely shocked. So strong. The 16th princess is so strong. She can actually fight the 9th princess. Terrifying. It turns out that the 16th princess who has been hidden away is also a peerless talent. She's too strong. She's definitely a giant-level genius. This generation of the royal family is really full of talents. It's rare to have 2 giants in one family. I don't understand. Why would the royal Xie family want to suppress such a peerless genius? I really don't understand. If other forces had such a genius, they would do their best to nurture her. In the future, she'll be a peerless emperor. Discussions could be heard everywhere, especially when they reached the ears of the imperial Xie clan. It was especially ear-piercing. What's the use of having such a high talent? He should be suppressed forever. Otherwise, he'll be a traitor. Xiezhen snorted and gritted his teeth. However, there was a trace of fear in his eyes. Xian Yanqing's talent was too high. The higher the talent, the more afraid he was and the more he wanted Xian Yanqing to die. Xiezhen's gaze fell on Lu Ming again. It's all because of Lu Ming. I don't know what method he used to rescue Xian Yanqing from the 9 underworlds. Lu Ming, I advise you to surrender. You can't escape today. Surrender and I'll give you a quick death, Xiezhen said, killing intent flashing in his eyes. All right, make your move. If you can take one move from me, I'll surrender, Lu Ming said contemptuously. You, don't be arrogant. Xiezhen rebuked. Lu Ming, there's no need for the 8th prince to take you down. I'll kill you. A middle-aged man stepped out. His aura was strong and his eyes were cold. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this was a 7th-level spirit god expert. All right, Venerable Shu, capture Lu Ming for this prince and you'll be heavily rewarded. Xiezhen was overjoyed and said. This man was a venerable guardian of the royal family. He was strong and had a 7th-level spirit god cultivation. With him taking action, he could definitely capture Lu Ming. You want to take action? All right, get over here and die. Chapter 1165. Young people are so arrogant. They will die young. Venerable Shu's eyes were cold. He took a few steps forward and quickly approached Lu Ming. His aura was getting stronger and stronger. Whoosh! A soft whip appeared in his hands. The soft whip was covered with hooks. Under the sunlight, it flickered coldly. He waved the soft whip and it grew rapidly. In the end, it became more than 10 miles long. Like a venomous snake, it coiled toward Lu Ming. The soft whip cut through the air, making an ear-piercing sound. A hideous crack appeared in the space. In the face of such an attack, Lu Ming's face was calm. His body swayed slightly and dodged the attack. He took a step forward and charged towards Venerable Shu. You can't escape. Inescapable net, 10,000 layers of death. Venerable Shu shouted. The soft whip was like a real dragon circling in the air. It turned into layers of whip shadows. Like an inescapable net, it wrapped around Lu Ming and sealed off all his escape routes. Why should I escape? Just break it. A calm voice came out. Lu Ming's body was filled with the roar of a dragon. His true yuan boiled as he punched out. Boom. This punch seemed to move the entire space, causing it to explode. A terrifying fist energy rushed towards the whip shadows. Those whip shadows were like broken branches, instantly collapsing, turning into fragments that scattered in all directions. The terrifying force even rushed along the soft whip towards Venerable Shu. His face changed drastically. His body trembled and he retreated. Whoosh! A figure flashed and suddenly appeared in front of him. Not good. Venerable Shu was shocked. He subconsciously punched out and wanted to retreat, but it was too late. Boom. Lu Ming threw out another punch. It was as fast as lightning. Even though he launched later, it reached Venerable Shu's chest first. Supremacy Shu let out a cry of despair as his entire body exploded. Even his spirit deity was not spared. The power of devouring erupted and shrouded Venerable Shu. His essence, qi, and spirit were all devoured by Lu Ming. Your lackey is dead. You don't want to fight personally? Lu Ming looked at Xiezhen with disdain. This made Xiezhen grit his teeth, but in his heart, he was also extremely shocked. A 7th-level spirit god expert was actually killed so easily by Lu Ming. Isn't Lu Ming's combat strength too terrifying? The expressions of the other spectators also changed greatly. Lu Ming's strength has greatly increased since the million-year sacrifice. Such astonishing talent is rarely seen in the world. With his current battle prowess, Xian Yanjuan is clearly no match for him. I wonder how he will fare against Long Chen? I don't know, but it's a pity. No matter how talented Lu Ming is today, the outcome is already decided. Don't forget, this is the holy city. Even a ruler might not be able to leave, let alone Lu Ming. While many people were shocked by Lu Ming's battle prowess and talent, they also felt pity for Lu Ming. This was the holy city. No matter how strong Lu Ming was, the outcome was already decided. It's rare to have such cultivation and battle prowess at your age. This old man admires you. If you swear a blood oath and surrender to my imperial Xie family, this old man will plead with the Saint Emperor to spare your life. How about it? A white-haired elder stepped out of the void and walked toward Lu Ming. He had the demeanor of an immortal. A terrifying aura spread out from his body. It was several times stronger than Venerable Shu's. Peak 8th level spirit god. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. The white-haired old man didn't hide his cultivation at all. Lu Ming could see it with a glance. You're just an 8th level spirit god. Are you qualified to ask the Saint Emperor to spare me? You think too highly of yourself. Lu Ming curled his lips casually and said disdainfully, "This is at least a chance, isn't it? If you refuse, you won't even have a chance." Being looked down upon by Lu Ming, the white-haired old man's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness as he spoke in a deep voice. "Haha, with just you? I'm afraid you're not qualified." Lu Ming smiled with even more disdain. "Arrogant. You won't have a chance if this old man attacks." The white-haired old man revealed anger in his eyes. A milky white light suffused out from his body, and his gaze was icy cold. Although Lu Ming easily killed a 7th-level spirit god expert, he was at the peak of the 8th level. His strength was much stronger than a 7th-level spirit god and could easily kill a 7th-level spirit god expert. Therefore, he was confident that he could suppress Lu Ming. Lu Ming was young after all. No matter how strong he was, it wouldn't be too outrageous. Whoosh! A white sword light bloomed from the white-haired old man's hand. It pierced through the boundless sky and charged towards Lu Ming. This sword was sharp, ruthless, stunning, and terrifying. Just this sword was stronger than the 7th-level spirit god realm supremacy Shu from before. Dragon roars sounded out from Lu Ming's body. Above his head, the third bloodline appeared. A surge of energy poured into Lu Ming's body, causing Lu Ming's strength to increase explosively once again. Bang! He took a step forward and struck out with his palm. The palm force was shocking. It broke open the sky and formed a terrifying palm blade that chopped down on the old man's white sword light. Clang! A sharp explosion sounded out. The white sword light dissipated, and Lu Ming charged towards the old man. The old man's expression changed slightly. The long sword in his hand stabbed out unceasingly. Streaks of snow-white sword light pierced towards Lu Ming like streaks of resplendent sparkling light. The sword light was dense and seemed endless as it poured towards Lu Ming unceasingly. Boom! 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 Lu Ming clenched his fist and struck out unceasingly. Vaguely, Lu Ming's fist seemed to have turned into a prison-suppressing stele that suppressed everything. Dense explosions sounded out in the sky. The white-haired old man's sword light was constantly collapsing. Lu Ming faced the sword light and charged towards the white-haired old man. The white-haired old man's expression changed. It became very ugly and dignified. He shouted loudly and his bloodline appeared. He performed bloodline fusion and turned into a milky white battle sword. The battle sword trembled. More and sharper sword light poured towards Lu Ming. Break. 9 dragons appeared. Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons and charged upwards. He broke through all the sword light. The 9 dragons' claws continuously clawed at the milky white battle sword. The milky white battle sword trembled violently and then directly collapsed, revealing the white-haired old man's true body. At this moment, the white-haired old man was in an incomparably sorry state. He no longer had the sage-like demeanor from before. His hair was disheveled and his clothes were ragged. His white robe was covered in blood. His eyes were filled with terror as he desperately charged towards the city walls. At this moment, countless people in the city gasped when they saw this scene. They were extremely shocked. A peak 8th level spirit god expert had been defeated. He had been heavily injured by Lu Ming and had fled in a sorry state. This was too unbelievable. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have dared to believe it. A youth who wasn't even 30 years old could heavily injure a veteran 8th level spirit god expert. Such an example was rarely recorded in the divine desolate continent since ancient times. This had already surpassed common sense. It was too terrifying. Now, many people were doubting whether Long Chen, who was known as the #1 expert in the world, was still a match for Lu Ming. High up in the sky, Xian Yanqing, who was fighting Xian Yanjuan, naturally sensed this scene. Her heart trembled and her eyes were filled with disbelief. Lu Ming's battle strength had already far surpassed hers. Chapter 1166. You're distracted. Xian Yanqing shouted and launched a storm of attacks. For a moment, she actually suppressed Xian Yanjuan. Xian Yanjuan quickly gathered his thoughts and fought with Xian Yanqing. Below, Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons and chased after the white-haired old man. Since you're going to fight, you should be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming's voice came from the 9 dragons' mouths. They stepped out with their dragon claws and their huge bodies were like lightning. They were unbelievably fast and approached the white-haired old man. Save me. Seeing that the 9 dragons were about to catch up, the white-haired old man screamed in horror. He was as panicked as a stray dog. He no longer cared about the demeanor of an expert. At this moment, saving his life was more important. Kill. The 9 dragons shouted and stretched out their claws. A powerful force hit the white-haired old man and almost pierced through his body. He vomited blood and his eyes were filled with fear. Save me. The white-haired old man screamed at the top of his lungs like a helpless young girl facing a group of ferocious bandits. Stop. You're courting death. At this moment, a furious roar came from the city walls of the holy city. A tall figure rushed out and a vast and unfathomable aura burst out. Everyone felt suffocated when they were shrouded by this aura. There was a huge rock pressing down on their hearts and they felt that a disaster was imminent. A sovereign. This word appeared in everyone's mind. It was a sovereign. The sovereign of the imperial family had attacked. Xie Qiyu. Lu Ming recognized at a glance that the person who attacked was Xie Zhen's uncle, the younger brother of the current holy emperor, Xie Qiyu. He was a sovereign. How dare you act so presumptuously in the holy city? I'll cripple you now. A cold voice came out from Xie Qiyu's mouth. Then, he slapped out and a huge palm print formed in the air. It covered the sky and enveloped Lu Ming. Under this palm print, Lu Ming was as small as an ant. However, Lu Ming's face was still calm and there was no change in his eyes. Because at this moment, waves of extremely powerful energy surged into Lu Ming's body. It was Xielwan's energy. So what if he's a supreme being? Xie Qiyu, you won't be able to save him today. The 9 dragons roared, their dragon claws clawed at Xie Tianyu's palm. What? He dares to take a supreme being's attack head-on? Courting death, his courting death. Driven into a corner, he died a heroic death. To be able to die in the hands of a supreme martial artist, his life was not in vain. Many people believed that Lu Ming was at the end of his rope, that he would rather be killed by a supreme being, dying a heroic death. Some people sighed. Could it be that such a rare genius of the divine desolate continent was about to come to an end? However, what happened next left them flabbergasted. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Boom. Boom. The 9 dragons' dragon claws grabbed Xie Chiyu's palm print. Everyone imagined that Xie Chiyu would be directly shattered by the palm print. The scene of him shattering into pieces did not happen. On the contrary, when the dragon claws grabbed him, heaven and earth shook. Xie Chiyu's palm print was actually penetrated by the 9 dragons' dragon claws and collapsed with a loud bang. Everyone was stunned as they watched this scene in disbelief. Not only did Lu Ming block the supreme martial artist's attack, but he also defeated it. How was this possible? What was going on? Most people were completely dumbfounded. Swoosh. After defeating Xie Chiyu's palm print, the 9 dragons clawed out again. A huge dragon claw appeared out of thin air above the white-haired old man's head and clawed down. The white-haired old man had almost escaped to the city wall. He had just heaved a sigh of relief when his eyes suddenly widened. He let out a desperate roar, no. Bang. In the next moment, he was crushed by the dragon claw. I said that since you're going to fight, you'll die. The 9 dragons shrunk and turned into Lu Ming's real body. A cold voice came out of Lu Ming's mouth. Many people gasped, especially Xie Zhen. His whole body was cold and his face was pale. He looked at Lu Ming in horror. An expert at the peak of the 8th level spirit god realm was first seriously injured and fled for his life. However, he was still killed by Lu Ming on the spot with the help of a supreme martial artist. How arrogant, how arrogant, how overbearing. Bastard, you're courting death. Xie Chiyu roared. His killing intent was extremely cold. It was so dense that it seemed to be about to materialize. A terrifying aura spread out. The earth-shattering pressure of a supreme martial artist spread towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and quickly retreated. Xie Chiyu's pressure couldn't stop him at all. Kill. Xie Chiyu shouted and was about to launch a thunderous attack. Chiyu, stop. At this moment, a dignified voice sounded. Xie Chitian was slightly stunned when he heard this voice and stopped. The sky suddenly split open, and 3 figures stepped out of the space crack. The person in the lead was slender and burly. He had endless majesty. Saint Emperor. Greetings, Saint Emperor. Many people hurriedly bowed. This person was the Saint Emperor, Xie Chitian. On both sides of Xie Chitian stood 2 white-haired old men. Most people had seen them at the million-year sacrifice. They were also sovereigns. 3 sovereigns came out together. Many people trembled in their hearts. At the same time, they were filled with endless doubts. Did the Saint Emperor need to come out personally for Lu Ming? Moreover, there were 2 other sovereigns. Xie Chitian and the 2 sovereigns came out together, stopping the battle between Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. I'll spare you today. Xian Yanjuan stared at Xian Yanqing with killing intent in his eyes. We still don't know who will spare who. Xian Yanqing responded strongly. Then, the 2 retreated separately. Xian Yanqing returned to Lu Ming's side, while Xian Yanjuan went to Xie Chitian's side. Xie Chitian looked at Xian Yanqing with a complicated expression. Then, his gaze fell on Lu Ming. With a dignified look in his eyes, he said, "Since you're here, why don't you come out? There's no need to hide." Xie Chitian's words shocked many people. Could it be that Xie Chitian's target was someone else? Demonic energy spread out from Lu Ming's body. In the end, the demonic energy gathered beside Lu Ming and condensed into a figure. It was Ciel Wan. There's really someone here. Some people were moved. They guessed that the reason why Lu Ming could resist the sovereign's attack just now was related to this person. However, some of them were stunned when they saw Ciel Wan. Then, their pupils and mouths widened. In the end, their bodies trembled violently. Impossible. How is this possible? Why does he look so similar? How can this be? These people muttered to themselves in disbelief. In particular, the people from the imperial Xie family, such as Xie Zhen and Xie Chiyu, widened their eyes in horror as if they had seen a ghost. Who is this person? Why do the people from the imperial Xie family look so frightened? Those who had not seen Xielwan's portrait or statue were full of doubts. However, they soon found out the answer. Xielwan. Chapter 1167. Those two words were like thousands of thunderbolts that exploded in everyone's hearts. Many people were so shocked that they almost jumped up. What? Xielwan? The chaotic sky divine emperor? How is that possible? Didn't the chaotic sky divine emperor die 30,000 years ago? How is he still alive? Even if he's not dead, he can't have lived for 30,000 years. What's going on? There was an uproar in the sacred city. Everyone was shouting and yelling in disbelief. It was too shocking. Who didn't know Xielwan's name from a powerful force? The current situation in the Middle Continent was all because of one person, Xielwan. Such a famous figure, who existed only in legends, who had long been thought to be dead, actually appeared alive. If Xie Qitian hadn't said it, no one would have believed it. Ha ha ha, 30,000 years have passed. I didn't expect anyone to remember me. Xielwan laughed. His words silenced all the voices at the scene. Everyone's eyes fell on Xielwan. This person was really Xielwan. How can this be? Xielwan has reappeared. Is the world going to fall into chaos again? Many people had the same thought in their minds. There were also some people who thought of even more. They finally knew why the Xie family of the imperial family activated the divine secret instrument to capture Lu Ming and why they took out a heavenly treasure as a reward. It was all because of Xielwan. Xielwan and Lu Ming were together. Could it be that Xielwan was able to reappear because of Lu Ming? Many people couldn't help but think of that. Hiss. At that moment, the space behind Xielwan and Lu Ming split open. Two figures stepped out of it. As soon as the two of them came out, they exuded a domineering aura. It was the aura of an emperor. It's the Wujue Sword Emperor and the Lightning Saber Emperor. Someone recognized the two of them and exclaimed in surprise. The others were shocked. They didn't expect two more emperors to appear. Was there going to be an earth-shattering battle between emperors today? Xie Qitian, you're really scheming. You know that Xielwan has reappeared, but you want to use us to get rid of him and test his strength. The Wujue Sword Emperor said coldly. This time, the Tianwu sword sect suffered heavy losses. Not only had many spiritual gods been killed, but even a branch had been annihilated. Not only had they lost an honorable in battle, they had even lost the devil fetus. If the devil fetus was refined, it would be able to fight against a ruler. How could the absolute martial sword emperor not be angry? At first, I wasn't sure if Xielwan was born, Xie Qitian explained casually. His eyes were still on Xielwan. Xielwan, I didn't expect you to be alive after being suppressed for 30,000 years. You can even come out. This is really beyond my expectations. Haha, I have to thank you for sending Lu Ming into the 9 underworlds. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been able to escape. Speaking of which, you're the one who started all this. I should thank you. Xielwan laughed loudly. Many people were shocked. It turned out that the reason Xielwan was able to return to the world was actually really because of Lu Ming. In other words, it was Lu Ming who saved Xielwan. Some people who knew the inside story sighed. If it weren't for the imperial Xie family imprisoning Xie Nianqing in the 9 underworlds, Lu Ming wouldn't have entered the 9 underworlds. If Lu Ming didn't enter, how could he have saved Xielwan? Everything was because of the imperial family. How ironic. Xielwan was right. If it weren't for the imperial family, how could Xielwan have escaped? Mph, Xielwan, even if you've escaped, what can you do? You've been suppressed for 30,000 years and your vitality is greatly damaged. Your demonic body is damaged and your strength is far from recovered. Today, I'll kill you completely to prevent future troubles, Xie Qitian said with a cold murderous intent. Besides Xie Qitian, the auras of the other two sovereigns spread out and locked onto Xielwan to prevent him from escaping. Absolute Martial Sword Emperor, Lightning Saber Emperor, how about joining forces with me to get rid of Xielwan today? I'll definitely reward you handsomely. Xie Qitian looked at Absolute Martial Sword Emperor and Lightning Saber Emperor. Hihi, Xie Qitian, this is your Xie family's matter. I won't interfere. Absolute Martial Sword Emperor chuckled. I'm not interested either. Lightning Saber Emperor shook his head as well. Murderous intent flashed across the eyes of Xie Qitian and the others as they were unhappy. They knew what the Absolute Martial Sword Emperor and Lightning Saber Emperor were planning. If the Imperial family and Xielwan were to be injured in the battle, it would be a good thing for the other overlords. They could take the opportunity to weaken the Imperial family's strength and even destroy the Xie family. Why would they help the Xie family? Haha, Junior, I'm not here to fight with you today. I'm here to give you treasures. Xielwan suddenly laughed. Give them treasures. His words not only confused everyone in Sacred City, but even Xie Qitian, Absolute Martial Sword Emperor, and the others were puzzled and confused. Xielwan, what are you trying to do? Xie Qitian said solemnly. In the ancient records of the Xie family, Xielwan was not only unparalleled in combat strength but also in scheming. He had to be wary of him. You'll know when you see. Xielwan smiled and stretched out his palm. A golden light bloomed from his hand. It was a golden token. After it appeared, it expanded rapidly and became a giant token that was 100 meters tall and dozens of meters wide. There were 2 words written on the token: Heavenly King. Xie Qitian, the other 2 sovereigns, Absolute Martial Sword Emperor, and Lightning Saber Emperor, widened their eyes when they saw the token. Then, endless greed appeared in their eyes. Heavenly King Token. This is the Heavenly King Token. The Heavenly King Token is in your hands. Sword Emperor Wujue roared. His eyes were blazing with greed. His eyes had turned red. Xie Qitian and the other sovereigns were also staring at the Heavenly King Token in Xielwan's hand. Heavenly King Token, it's the legendary Heavenly King Token. Some senior domain enlightened spirit gods couldn't help but cry out involuntarily, and they were extremely shocked. This made the others look at each other in confusion. What kind of treasure is this Heavenly King Token? It made the sovereigns jealous. The Heavenly King Token is indeed very tempting to the sovereigns, Lu Ming thought to himself. On the way here, Xielwan had already briefly explained to Lu Ming the use of the Heavenly King Token. This world was called the Primordial Realm. It was vast and boundless. Although the Divine Wilderness continent was huge, it was just a grain of sand compared to the entire Primordial Realm. There were countless continents like the Divine Wilderness continent overseas. Some were even several times larger than the Divine Wilderness continent. Some were even dozens or hundreds of times larger. However, the true core of the Primordial Realm was a continent called the Primordial Continent. Legend had it that the Primordial Continent was the true core of the Primordial Realm. It was vast and boundless, and its area was many times larger than the Divine Wilderness continent. There were countless forces and powerhouses there. Sovereigns were ordinary there, and saints who surpassed sovereigns could be seen everywhere. Over there was an incomparably terrifying force. That kind of force was not something the so-called overlords of the Divine Wilderness continent could compare to. The difference between heaven and earth was like the difference between heaven and earth. Any one of them could destroy all the forces in the Divine Wilderness continent. Chapter 1168. The cultivation environment of the Divine Wilderness continent was too bad for a martial emperor. In the Divine Wilderness continent, it was almost impossible for a martial emperor to break through and improve. In the Yuanlu, a martial emperor could continuously break through. However, the Yuanlu was also extremely dangerous. There were countless forbidden areas and too many powerful beings. It was extremely dangerous for a martial emperor to travel in the Yuanlu, and they could die at any time. Legend had it that in the history of the Divine Wilderness continent, there were martial emperors who found the Yuanlu to break through. They wanted to cultivate there, but they all died. If they wanted to cultivate in the Yuanlu, they could only join the major factions and seek protection from them. However, the conditions for the major factions to recruit disciples were too harsh. Ordinary martial emperors could not catch their eyes. Only those with special conditions could join. The Heavenly King Palace was one of the major factions in the Yuanlu. The Heavenly King token was a token issued by the Heavenly King Palace. As long as one had the Heavenly King token, even if one's talent was weak, one could join the Heavenly King Palace and cultivate there. According to Ciel 1, the Heavenly King token originally belonged to the Imperial Xie family. The reason why the Imperial Xie family was able to prosper was because of the Heavenly King token. Generations of martial emperors had joined the Heavenly King Palace. That was why they were able to dominate the divine wilderness continent for millions of years. However, 30,000 years ago, the Heavenly King token was stolen by Ciel 1. With the Heavenly King token, one could join the Heavenly King Palace, one of the major factions in the Yuanlu. How tempting was that to a martial emperor? When one reached the martial emperor realm, their goal was to continue breaking through and seek a stronger realm to obtain more lifespan. Otherwise, they might not be able to break through in the divine wilderness continent for the rest of their lives. Who would be willing to watch the end of their lifespan approach and slowly die? Although they could dominate a region in the divine wilderness continent, it was all in vain. When the time was up, they would turn into dust. For a martial artist, only one's realm and strength were real. If they could choose, most of the martial emperors would choose to head to the Yuanlu and join a major faction to seek a stronger realm. Unfortunately, if they headed to the Yuanlu without joining a major faction, the chances of them dying were too high. That was why the martial emperors of the divine wilderness continent stayed on the divine wilderness continent. Otherwise, they would have headed to the Yuanlu to cultivate. The Heavenly King's token was an opportunity. To a ruler, it had a fatal temptation. When Lu Ming heard all of this, he was shocked. The overseas world was much more exciting and mysterious than he had imagined. If there was a chance, Lu Ming would definitely go overseas and experience the Yuanlu. Ciel 1, the Heavenly King token belongs to the Imperial Xie family. Give it to me now. Xie Qitian could no longer remain calm as he stared at the Heavenly King token with a burning gaze. Xie Qitian, your Xie clan has been in control of the Heavenly King token for 1,000,000 years. Now, it's the turn of the other forces. Ciel 1, give me the Heavenly King token and I will do my best to protect you. Wu Jue Sword Emperor also shouted. Leave it to me, I'm willing to ally with you. The Lightning Saber Emperor also shouted. They were so tempted that they lost all sense of propriety. If they could obtain the Heavenly King token, they could immediately leave the divine wilderness and head overseas to find Yuan Lu. They could then join the Heavenly King Hall to cultivate. As for their disciples, how could they compare with their own future? No matter how strong the Imperial Xie family was, they could just leave. You think you can take my Xie clan's Heavenly King token? Die! Xie Qitian shouted as he charged towards Ciel 1 with the other two sovereigns. A wisp of a grin appeared on the corners of Ciel 1's mouth, and then he suddenly tossed the Heavenly King's token to the Sword Emperor. The Heavenly King token is for you, Ciel 1 shouted as his demonic aura swept up Lu Ming and Xie Nianqing and retreated to the side. The Heavenly King token is mine. Wu Jue Sword Emperor was overjoyed as he reached out his hand to grab the Heavenly King token. Don't even think about it. It's mine. On the side, the Lightning Saber Emperor revealed a greedy look. A resplendent saber radiance wrapped in thunderbolts slashed towards Wu Jue Sword Emperor. Lightning, you're courting death. Wu Jue Sword Emperor was enraged as a vast sword radiance burst out and slashed towards the Lightning Saber Emperor. Boom! When the sword radiance and the Lightning Saber radiance clashed, the sky was filled with sword chi and saber aura. The space was torn apart by the collision of the sword chi and saber aura like a spiderweb, covering the entire sky. A few sword chi and saber aura overflowed and slashed the ground below. The ground was split open and a few huge ravines that were more than 10,000 miles long appeared. It was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the holy city shone and a light barrier rose, blocking the force outside. Otherwise, the entire holy city would not be able to withstand a few rounds of torment. Hand over the Heavenly King token. Xie Qitian and the two sovereigns of the imperial family pounced towards Wu Jue Sword Emperor and launched a powerful attack. Holy light filled the sky and a few white suns seemed to have appeared in the sky. The entire holy city was shrouded in milky white holy light. It was so dazzling that one could not open their eyes. Boom, boom, boom. The sky and the ground seemed to have experienced a magnitude 10 earthquake. The violent tremors caused the entire space to be pierced. Lu Ming looked from afar and could only see a few figures fighting crazily. They fought in the sky and then in the dark space. Whoosh! A sword radiance accidentally overflowed and pierced into the ground. Immediately, an unfathomable hole appeared in the ground. After a while, magma gushed out. That sword had pierced through the earth's crust. The sovereigns were fighting crazily. The scene was too shocking. In the holy city, countless people watched in a daze. They were shocked by such a terrifying scene. If the holy city was not protected by an extremely powerful formation, they would not dare to stand here. Once they were affected by the aftershocks, they would die. Everything that happened today was beyond everyone's expectations. The main characters of today's matter were not involved, but Xie Qitian and the other sovereigns were engaged in a fierce battle. Let's go. They have no time to care about other things. Let's go to the chaotic realm and find the backup I left behind. When I recover my cultivation as a sovereign, I won't have to be afraid of them anymore, Xielwan said. Then, he tore through space with Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing and disappeared. 3 days later, a piece of news spread throughout the entire central continent and even the 4 territories at the speed of a hurricane. 3 days ago, Lu Ming went to the holy city and displayed his terrifying combat strength. Then, the chaotic Sky Emperor, Xielwan, who was rumored to have fallen 30,000 years ago, appeared and was rescued by Lu Ming from the netherworld demon realm. That was why the royal family chased after him. In the holy city, Xielwan took out the Heavenly King's token, causing an intense battle between the sovereigns. That battle caused the heavens to collapse and the earth to crack. The sun and moon lost their light. It was incomparably tragic. In the end, the Wujue Sword Emperor was killed by the royal family in that battle. The Lightning Saber Emperor fled with heavy injuries, and the Heavenly King's token fell into the hands of the Xie family. When this news spread out, many people were dumbfounded. Xielwan appeared, the sovereigns fought, and a sovereign fell because of this. How many years had it been since a sovereign fell because of a battle? Now, there was one. Chapter 1169. In the eastern part of the Middle Continent, in a large city near the chaotic realm, Lu Ming smiled when he heard the news. The Middle Continent was going to be in chaos. The Tianwu sword sect would definitely go crazy after a sword emperor was killed. It was said that there were 2 sword emperors in the entire Tianwu sword sect. Now that one of them was killed by the royal family, they would definitely seek revenge. Also, the Heavenly King token was a treasure that all emperors coveted. Which emperor wouldn't be tempted? Now that the royal family had obtained it, would the emperors let it go? Impossible. The battle between the emperors had just begun. Next, it would definitely be more intense. There would be an even more intense fight for the Heavenly King token. The Xie family of the royal family might not be able to protect the Heavenly King token. Of course, this was more beneficial to Lu Ming because the royal family would no longer have the time to care about him. They could barely take care of themselves. The most direct manifestation was that the projection of the divine secret apparatus had disappeared. Obviously, the royal family had stopped the operation of the divine secret apparatus and wanted to spend more time on how to protect the Heavenly King token. Fight, fight to your heart's content. Lu Ming smiled. He rose into the air and flew toward the chaotic realm. Soon, Lu Ming flew into the territory of the chaotic realm. After nearly 2 years, Lu Ming came to the chaotic realm again. But now, Lu Ming's cultivation was no longer the same as before. The various forbidden areas and powerful existences in the chaotic realm were no longer a threat to him. Lu Ming didn't slow down at all and flew past at extreme speed. Below, powerful existences felt the terrifying aura on Lu Ming's body and immediately retreated. They didn't dare to make the slightest movement for fear of attracting disaster. Following Xielwan's guidance, after flying for tens of millions of miles, Lu Ming came to a dark mountain range. At a glance, the mountain range was black and filled with demonic aura. There were even demonic creatures below. Lu Ming lowered his altitude and flew forward. Roar! Roar. A few demonic beasts roared. Their eyes shone with a ferocious light as they pounced toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped out and a few demonic beasts were smashed into pieces. Lu Ming's body released a terrifying aura. Although the magical beasts had low intelligence, they could still feel fear and retreated. Lu Ming went all the way down and finally came to the edge of a pit. This crater had a radius of 100 miles, and was so deep that one couldn't see the bottom of it. Demonic qi continued to seep out of the pit, and it was extremely dense. This was the place that Xiel Wan had mentioned. Demonic qi flashed, and Xiel Wan's figure appeared. He looked at the pit and muttered, "It's been 30,000 years, I wonder how they are now? Let's go." After saying that, he immediately jumped into the pit. Lu Ming followed suit. The crater was very deep, and only after descending for about 1,000 miles did they reach the bottom. At the bottom, there was a black magic stone with complicated inscriptions carved on it. Xiel Wan's hands moved and inscriptions entered the demon stone. The demon stone began to glow. In the end, it cracked open with a cracking sound, revealing a black vortex. Space door. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that this was a spatial door. Let's go. Xiel Wan was the first to step into the spatial door, and Lu Ming followed closely behind. The space flashed, and in the next moment, Lu Ming realized that they had appeared on top of a mountain. Looking up, there were vast mountains all around, and there was black demonic qi permeating the space. This was a plane. The backup that Xiel Wan had mentioned was actually a plane, and this plane was very similar to the 9 underworlds. Demonic qi surged, and the heaven and earth were filled with demonic qi. However, the heaven and earth spirit qi and origin qi were very thin. The space between his brows flashed, and Xian Yanqing's figure appeared. Xian Yanqing looked at the scene in front of him and was a little surprised. Back then, I was afraid that if I failed, I would be suppressed or severely injured, so I found this plane and left some subordinates here to guard it, and a place for me to recover. It's been 30,000 years. I wonder how they are now? Xiel Wan opened his mouth and explained. Who is it? How dare you barge into my 10,000 devil abyss? At this moment, a loud shout was heard. In the distance, dozens of figures flew over at an extremely fast speed. Their bodies were filled with demonic qi, and they were all spirit embryo realm martial artists. In an instant, dozens of burly men in black armor appeared in front of Lu Ming and the others. All of them stared at them coldly. However, when their gazes landed on Xiel Wan, their expressions changed drastically, revealing looks of disbelief as they exclaimed, "Demonic ancestor, it's the demonic ancestor. How is it possible? The demonic ancestor is still alive." One of them even waved his hand, and a statue appeared in his hand. This statue was exactly the same as Xiel Wan. Demonic qi surged into the sky, and it had a domineering aura that seemed to dominate the world. "It's really the demonic ancestor," they shouted in disbelief. "Where's your commander? Call him over," Xiel Wan ordered. The dozens of burly men in armor looked at each other, their eyes still filled with disbelief. The demonic ancestor that they were talking about was Xiel Wan. Obviously, they couldn't believe that Xiel Wan was still alive after 30,000 years. "Please wait a moment, we'll go and report this," one of the burly men with the highest cultivation base said, then turned around and left. The others hurriedly followed, turning into dozens of black demonic lights and disappearing from the place. However, after waiting for a while, there was no movement at all. "No one came here." Xiel Wan frowned slightly and said, "Let's go and take a look." Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing nodded, and the three of them flew forward. After flying over layers of mountains, an incomparably huge city appeared in front of them. At this moment, the huge city was filled with powerhouses. Many armored warriors guarded the surroundings of the huge city as if they were facing a great enemy. Among them, there were more than 10 people whose auras rose and were incomparably terrifying. Supreme Being. These dozen or so people were all Supreme Being experts. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. It seemed that the place that Xiel Wan left behind was no small matter. There were actually so many powerhouses. Of course, these powerhouses couldn't be those people from 30,000 years ago. They must be the descendants of those people. When Lu Ming and the others arrived, all eyes on the huge city fell on Ciel Wan, causing a commotion. The demonic ancestor, it's exactly the same as the legendary demonic ancestor. Could it be that the demonic ancestor has really returned? Unbelievable. Voices sounded one after another with shocked expressions. Especially the dozen or so supreme-level powerhouses. While they were shocked, their auras became even stronger as they stared at Ciel Wan. "Where's your commander? Who is he? Ask him to come out and see me." Ciel Wan frowned even more, and his cold and commanding voice sounded. No one answered. Even the dozen or so supreme-level powerhouses didn't answer. Instead, their eyes flickered, and no one knew what they were thinking. "I'm Ciel Wan, the chaotic Sky Emperor. Why aren't you greeting me?" Ciel Wan shouted loudly, causing many armored burly men to tremble. "How dare you pretend to be the chaotic Sky Emperor? You deserve to die." At this moment, a loud shout came from the depths of the huge city. When the voice sounded, heaven and earth shook. An earth-shattering demonic aura soared into the sky, suppressing all directions. An emperor, this was the pressure of an emperor. There was actually an emperor hidden here. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.